What do you call that kind of ratchet?
That's a torque wrench.
Giant torque wrench. Thing must be like 5 feet long. Good morning. I am in Cranbrook in Canada, in BC, British Columbia, Canada. It's my first morning here, and today I get to go to the local Freightliner dealer service place and try to get a front bearing put on the driver's side front wheel. It's sort of funny because when I was in Colorado, I had taken the step van up to Derrick, an hour north of Denver, and driven all the way up there, and I had the bearing with me, and he got under there with his grease gun and was greasing everything, and he said I was good to go, and I asked him about the bearing and he said it was tight, it didn't need to be done. I probably should have insisted because I had the part there that we just go ahead and pull it off and swap it out. But for some reason at the time I thought that he was actually greasing the bearings themselves. I realized now that he wasn't. He was greasing the area all around the bearings. I don't know exactly what all the zerks are in that area that are greased and what gets greased and what doesn't get greased because I've never pulled it off. I haven't done it myself. He was just moving around like a NASCAR mechanic under there. My point is that in the moment, we always make the best decision that we can with the information that we have. We always do that. And it's always in hindsight that we realize that there was a different fork, a different route, a different decision that could have been made. Decisions like I should have brought the umbrella this morning, then you would have had it when it was raining. I should have never gone on a date with that person because they're an idiot or they're dishonest. I should have had a spare tire or fuses with me just in case I broke down. But we always make the decision that we think is the best and most logical at the time, and then consequences later turn out that you're not prepared because you didn't prepare or didn't make a decision. Anyway, so I'm trying to be preemptive this time by getting the bearing done now instead of driving down the road thinking, oh, I'll change it in Portland, which was my original plan. So I've decided to do this now so that it's like having my umbrella. I'll just have it taken care of. It's worrying me. The noise has gotten loud enough and disturbing enough that I think it needs to be done now. I'd really hate to have a wheel come off or lock up or something in the middle of nowhere in Canada and having to get towed, possible other damage, maybe flipping a vehicle, who knows. So I'm off to meet the mechanic and see if they have a bearing in stock. If they don't, at bare minimum, because it's a Friday, I'll see if they can pack the thing with grease, assuming that there's no physical major damage to the bearings themselves. I think if it's packed with grease, then I'll be good to go. But if I'm in there and they do have a new bearing, I'll just get it swapped out. Hopefully I'm making the right decision there. They're working on the step van back here and pulled everything off. Bearings look great, but it is the driver's side front caliper, he says, is sticking. You apply it and it sticks down there and it just is not releasing correctly. So he's gonna try to, I guess, lube it up or grease it, the caliper, so that it releases properly. And if he can't get it, then they'll have to replace the caliper, but that's what he's trying right now. So I'll know in a little bit what happens. I'm hanging out in the lounge up here. I love these little trucker type diesel repair lounges. I think I just heard my step van go past. Sounds a little bit different than some of the other bigger trucks. I'm gonna go down and check it out and see if they're done. I'm told he's done with the step van. I'm good to go. He's just putting the lug nuts back on and tightening them up. Check out the size of this wrench. This thing is huge. What do you call that kind of ratchet?
That's a torque wrench.
Giant torque wrench. Thing must be like 5 feet long.
Go up to 650 foot-pounds.
Wow. That is quite impressive. I was asking the mechanic what he did. He said he pulled apart the caliper and he put some special caliper lubrication on it, on the calipers, to get them moving back and forth. He said when he would actually play with it before all of this, they would stick every time you would apply the brakes. And so now it's not sticking at all. He took it for a test drive. Everything's running great. He says he feels good about sending me out on the road, so I think I'm all good. Well, I just got the bill. I'm in a little bit of a sticker shock. 3.7 hours. It just seems a little bit high. Maybe it's reasonable, but it seems a little high to pull off the wheel, look at the bearing, and to clean out a caliper. But anyway, it is what it is. Up here it's $130 Canadian an hour, so it came up to like $600 Canadian. That's about 500 something American. A little bit expensive, especially given my budget of $1,000 a month to live on. That's pretty much what I travel on. I'll link a video above where I show my travel budget. So $300 for the tensioner that I had put on just a couple of weeks ago, and now another $500 for this. That's $800 out of the month. That doesn't leave a whole lot for food and travel, and certainly dips into my budget for building out the van. But that is what it is. I'm happy to have this resolved. I'm super elated that it's not a bearing, because that would have been really critical, having a bearing go out while I'm driving. So I'm going to hit the road and get on my way and heading towards Vancouver. I'll probably only make a part way today, but just see how the driving goes. It's about 2 hours later. I just pulled over at a rest stop here. Beautiful rest stops here in Canada. This is really gorgeous, very nice to take a nap and use toilet, stuff like that. A little disappointed when I came in. I was slowing down, and driving around here, brakes are squeaking. All right, it's doing the squeaking thing again, so I'm going to try to let you listen to it. I'm driving about 30 miles an hour. Not sure how that's going to come out. There's two ways to look at this. Obviously, you can look at the negative side, all the money that was just spent to get the brakes repaired, and they're still squeaking. But look at it the polar opposite way. I thought it was a bearing before, so at least now I've eliminated the bearing. I know that that's okay. I do know that there is a problem with the caliper, and that he tried to fix it by greasing it up or oiling it or whatever needs to be done to get the caliper to move. But it's improved, but not completely fixed. So at least the problem is identified at this point. The only downside to this whole thing is just the money that was spent, and that it's not really working totally correct. The upside, I'm on the road, I know what it is, I can deal with it later. It's not super critical right now. I have a little bit of a dilemma. I'm having a hard time finding a place to stay for free for the night. All the cities I've passed through, there doesn't seem to be any businesses offering places. I can't find any rest stops. I can't find any boondocking free campsites. I'm over by Christina Lake now and trying to find a place near here, but it looks like there's just really nothing available, and I've just not studied Canada enough to know the local rules and the local laws. And I'd really rather not have a wake-up call in the middle of the night by the Canadian Mounties and not knowing really the penalties here in Canada versus the United States. And I didn't research this ahead of time. In the United States, basically, they ask you to move on, or it's a parking ticket, so it's not really so much of a worry or a concern. But in this instance, I'm in a foreign country. Although it's Canada, it's almost like the United States. But who knows? I just don't really feel comfortable with trying to get a good night's sleep if I'm sort of worrying about this. So I might end up driving another hour and crossing the border into the United States. I just haven't really decided. I'm going to see if I can find some Wi-Fi or internet and make a decision. Okay, I have a plan. 2-hour drive, Omak, Washington, crossing the border. Just gonna go to a Walmart, I think for peace of mind, even though I don't want to drive another 2 hours today. It's 7 o'clock right now. That puts me in there about 9:30. But I think just for my peace of mind, that's what I'm gonna do. That's all I have for this episode. Thank you for watching. Savor the moment. See you next episode.